Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the work that I do, you can subscribe to my channel. Today we're actually in the garden, as you can tell from around me. And I'm going to show you propagation of tomato. And just so you know, and from the title you can probably tell, I don't like tomatoes, but there are people in my household that do. So I grow the tomatoes for them. I just don't care for them, and you'll be able to tell that as we move throughout this today. There are two main methods that you can use to propagate tomato. One is from cuttings, shown right here, and the other is from seed. And just so you know, when you propagate from cuttings, you always get a clone or a copy of the tomato or the plant that you started with. So propagation from cuttings is the easiest thing to do, but you already have to have a plant in order to get cuttings. When you propagate from seed, that's a little bit of a different story. If you propagate heirloom tomatoes from seed, that will work out well. Usually heirloom tomatoes can be propagated from seed. They're inbred, and every year you can use the seed, and they're true to type. If you propagate from seed with hybrid tomatoes, what that means is a hybrid is a mix of the genes from the two parent plants, so 30,000 genes from each parent plant mix, and you get a mixture of the different parent plants, and if those parent plants are different, which is what is the case with hybrids, then you're going to get a mix of all those different types and then some in the seed. And so for heirloom tomatoes, though, it's fine. So first of all, I'm going to show you propagation from cuttings. And all of this is extremely simple. So from cuttings, you just take a cutting, and this is a pretty large cutting. The cuttings that I take are from suckers. So suckers are these little shoots that grow out of each nodal segment. And in many cases you're supposed to remove those anyway. So these are some sucker shoots that I took off, and this is way too big for the pot that I'm going to plant this in, which is here. So what we're going to do with cuttings, and with these tomato cuttings as well as with most cuttings, what you do is you remove most of the leaves. When you take cuttings like this, you have to minimize the stress that you impart to the cutting. And so the leaves are areas where water can evaporate, and that process is called transpiration. And so we have to move as many of the leaves as we're comfortable with. I probably could remove even this leaf, but I removed the big leaves, and tomato is very easy to root, so that'll work out just fine. So I have this, which is this cutting that I removed most of the leaves, and I'm going to take a little bit of the stem, a little bit more of the stem off. I dip this in water, and then I add rooting hormone. And it's called hormones, but this actually contains growth regulators. So this is actually an old jar of a Miracle-Gro product that is hard to get anymore. So what I recommend is it's a safe root. Take root is the product that I recommend. So here is the rooting powder. I also should mention that the rooting powder just contains the hormone indole-butyric acid. And IBA, what this does is it causes root initiation. So it initiates roots, and those roots in tomato will grow fast. Also the thing, and I have this cutting out, I really want to get it into the soil here. I should mention the soil selection is pretty important as well. This soil I'm using today, it's this stuff. It is ProMix, and it's ProMix with mycorrhizae, and you can get this at most big box stores. I also like to use the Scott's Miracle-Gro product, the water retentive type. So use a good quality material so that this is kind of protected from overwatering and underwatering. So the moisture control potting mix actually absorbs water and then releases it slowly. And it's also good. You won't get as much rotting when you use a good quality soil mix. So from this soil, I will make a hole in the mix large enough for the cutting, and then I will take the cutting and put it in here and just pat the soil around it carefully. Let me do that again just so you can see. We're going to take the leaves off here. And again, this one is a little bit long, so we're going to cut it about that short. Dip in water. Dip in, I tightened up the rooting powder. We're going to dip it in the rooting powder. Knock the excess off. And then make a hole in the soil here. And then place our cutting here in the soil. And this is, again, really straightforward. And if you have a plant and you know what it is, make sure to label your plant. Then you want to make sure that you give this thing a good drink of water, and you're set. All right, so this will go, and it doesn't take long. I don't want to drip it all over myself. It won't take long for this guy to form roots. So I have this that I just took, these cuttings, I just took 2 weeks ago. And what you may be able to see in here is, or maybe not, is roots that are actually growing out of the top of this thing already. I'm going to take this out so you can see the roots that are on the top. So here, there's lots of roots growing all over the place here. And this has been only 2 weeks. Tomato roots incredibly fast, and you'll have more tomatoes than you know what to do with really quickly. All right, so moving on, I want to show you how to propagate from seed. And there's not a really big deal to propagate some seed from seed, but I can explain to you a few things about how seed works. So I have a tomato that is right here, and this happens to be an heirloom tomato. So this you can grow from seed pretty successfully. The seeds then can be removed just using a spoon or anything else. It's not hard to do. And what you end up with is this goopy stuff that is the seed, and then whatever is surrounding the seed. The stuff that surrounds the seed is called gel. That's the formal name for it. There's other names for it. I call it tomato slime, pink sludge, gooey guck, or viscous yuck. And it's all this stuff surrounding the seed. And what this stuff does is it contains a germination inhibitor. If it didn't have this, the seeds would germinate in the tomato, and it wouldn't work out well. The other thing I should mention, that's not quite 100% true. But what happens is that the tomato seed, in order for it to be processed and germinate, it also must be dried. So there's two things that you have to do in order to obtain successful seed germination from tomatoes. So you have to take the guck off, the gel, you have to remove that, plus you need to dry the seed. And drying the seed only takes a couple of days. To remove the stuff from the gel, the gel from the seed, it's pretty straightforward. All that you need to do, and I'm going to show you this stuff again, and this is just ooky stuff. Again, tomato slime, pink sludge, gooey guck, viscous yuck. And what you do to get this stuff off of the seed is you just rub it in a paper towel like this and just remove it. And I just don't like tomatoes, so yum. But as you may or may not be able to see, let me see if I can get them over to one part of the paper. But as you can see, is enough rubbing of this, and you remove the stuff. But just kind of make sure that you put the extra effort into it and get all the gel off of it. After you get the gel off of it, you simply collect the seed and let it dry. There's really nothing to it. And if you have to take each individual seed just to make sure, and rub it just to make sure that you get the gel off of it, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so get the gel off, put it on a dry piece of paper, let it dry for a couple of days, and then just place it in a container. Again, you want to make sure it's dry. You can then take the dry seeds, in the container and put them in your fridge or freezer, and that will last. That can last a long time. I actually have some tomato seeds that are about 5 years old that I continue to use. Make sure again that you mark your container pretty well. So that's all I have for propagation of tomato, either through cuttings here or seed here. The last thing I want to do, just so you, I just want to prove to you that, yuck. I'm going to cut open a tomato here, and here's the tomato. And I'm supposed to do this because I got some people watching me that just wanted me to do this, but I don't like this, but I'm going to show you that it's not because I haven't tasted it and they look bad. I just don't like it. So good. Okay. Oh, that's just great. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Just wanted to share that with you, and hope you try this. Hopefully you like tomatoes and you're successful with this, and happy propagating.